Hi there, Waltoneers. I'm Jack, and this is a DSNY live stream. Today we're going to be talking about our predictions for the upcoming Destination D23 that's going to be taking place on Saturday. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to jump on here, do a live stream, discuss all the various things that we might expect to be announced and might not be expected to be announced as well. Because, you know, Disney's track record of recent years, there's been an awful lot more that's been not announced than there's been announced, especially when it comes to D23 Expo last year, which was lackluster to say the least. In my opinion, at least, I feel like it was pretty lackluster. And so I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat. There we go. Everyone's there. Just reading. If you're wondering why I'm looking off to the side, it's because the comments are on the side of the screen here. Great. Okay, so first of all, Destination D23. It's usually the one that happens every other year. So D23 Expo happens once every 2 years, and same thing with Destination D. Destination D is usually a smaller version of D23 Expo. So with that being said, you can usually expect smaller announcements. But, you know, we usually get quite a few updates on existing park projects. But here's the thing for this year. We don't have that many park projects left in terms of ones which are in construction. I just want to shout out a few people here in the chat. Neil says, good afternoon there. Let me pop in a couple more people. Give me a second. Drew says, there he is. That's great. Hi, Drew. Yeah, okay, lots of people in there. Hi from Phoenix, we're getting in there as well. Hi Jack from the UK. There we go. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of people in here as well. At the moment, I think the current count is around 282. So that's good. And I just want to mention the super chat here. It says, thoughts on the Chapek Iger article that came out today from CNBC. Yeah, I'll be getting into that later on in the live stream. Trust me on that one. Thanks for the comment there. Thank you for the super chat. I've got some thoughts on the whole Iger Chapek article. I feel like, just very quickly, it's a little bit of Chapek revisionism going on here to try and paint him in a better light. I don't think either one come out of it in a particularly good light, but I feel like it's trying to get more Chapek's side of the story across and how Iger meddled a little bit during his time as CEO. I've got my thoughts on that, but we'll discuss that towards the end of the live stream after we get the D23 predictions out the way. I just want to... Coming back to this, a celebration of Disney parks, experience and products. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That is the title of this parks presentation that's going to be happening on Saturday. Now, it's a little bit similar to the kind of nonsense title that they gave the D23 Expo Parks presentation last year, which, if you remember, it was... Let me get the little lower third off the screen there as well. It was a boundless future for the Disney parks, experience and products, and in my opinion, it was anything but boundless in many ways. The amount of things that were announced didn't really cut it, in my opinion. We got the Blue Sky segment at the end, and we also got we got the Avengers Quinjet announcement that came like the day before. And we got some artwork for that. And then everything else was pretty much updates on existing projects. It wasn't anything really big, new that was announced. We'll discuss what I think is going to be highly likely to be announced during this one. But when it comes to Destination D, expectations should be set low. For the reason being that it is the in-between one. They usually try and save everything up for D23 Expo because that's one where they get the most amount of attention. These are just choreographed media events that are good ways of generating a lot of buzz for the Disney Parks division or whatever for the next year, and gets us, the fans, hyped. My opinion as of late is that they've fallen flat. I think it began in 2019. The hype just wasn't quite there the same way. We got the Epcot overhaul artwork coming out, but it wasn't quite, I'll show you the Epcot artwork we received at the time, or this was a change on the existing artwork. Give me a second. Where is it? Yeah. we got, just trying to find, so this is what we received last year at D23 Expo. And then the Epcot stuff was, this kind of stuff here. Wait, let me just move this one off the screen. This is the updated artwork that we got later on at D23 Expo and stuff like that. It was the World Celebration project. Okay, so first of all, let's begin with what I think is going to be highly likely to be announced or shown at Destination D. And that is Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's the only project they've really got coming next year that is going to be of note in any big way. It's opening at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World late in 2024. The Splash Mountain re-themed to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We have been drip with the details along the way, and clearly they're holding off showing us the audio animatronics. They've touted many times that there's going to be numerous audio animatronics within this attraction, much like the Splash Mountain attraction had many audio animatronics as well. And this one, I reckon what we're going to see is we're going to see a little bit like they did back in, what was it, 2021 or last year in D23 Expo as well, where we got the audio animatronic of Zootopia, and we also got the audio animatronic of Elsa from Frozen Ever After as well. So they're going to show us like a sneak peek at the animatronics in the attraction most likely. I don't anticipate us getting an exact opening date, maybe an opening season. They like to do seasons nowadays sometimes, so therefore it gives them a bit of flexibility. So they might say Walt Disney World's Tiana's Bayou Adventure is opening in summer of 2024, and the other one's opening in, fall of 2024, and they'll specify that like they did with Galaxy's Edge. But I don't think we'll be getting an exact opening date this far out. It would be just crazy to do something so far out with an opening date. But yeah, I think we'll get probably more concept art. And the whole event, the Destination D23 D23 event, it's taking place on Saturday from 9:15 in the morning Eastern time to 10:30. So that's 1 hour and 15 minutes of a live stream, and it's going to be live streamed on d23.com. It's going to be live streamed on the Disney Parks YouTube channel. It's going to be live streamed all over the place. So you can watch it on Saturday live. So those attending and those watching it on live stream as well, it'll be this kind of, let me find it here. Wait, give me a second. It'll be this kind of thing. Wait. It'll be on stage and it'll be this kind of setup. We'll be seeing a lot of Josh D'Amaro, and hopefully there's not too much vamping that goes on during the presentation. That's the one complaint I had about D23 Expo in 2022, is that there was an awful lot of filler within those hours. And I got to give it to Josh D'Amaro. He can vamp and he can fill time like the best of them. He can make something small, extend out for 10 minutes. That's not particularly good for us, for Disney fans, from a standpoint of, we've seen the Dapper Dans perform. We can go to Main Street to see them perform. We can see Tiana and the dance troupe that came on stage last year do that kind of thing in the parks as well. People attending these things aren't really attending it just for a bit of a sing and dance on stage. They're attending it for news and updates on existing park projects. And I hope we don't get much filler. But it's an hour and 15 minutes long. I would anticipate out of that we'll get at least half an hour of filler, judging by D23 last year. But who knows? We might get something completely different. Just want to bring up a couple of other points here. I would love New Orleans style food at a sit-down restaurant. People are saying there about Tiana's. Walt Disney World deserves a Tiana restaurant. Why does Walt Disneyland have such great freaking compared to Walt Disney World? Yeah, well, basically, they've redone the existing restaurant at Disneyland, so it was very easy for them to do. I've actually done a video on this in the past and said that, Tiana should actually have a restaurant. The whole mission of the movie, the whole idea behind the movie is that Tiana's saving up to open her restaurant, and for her to get an attraction before even getting a restaurant is a bit, backwards in terms of the thinking. It's putting one before the other, and I feel like they should probably put Tiana's Palace in Magic Kingdom alongside Tiana's Bayou Adventure if they're going to do it, because people are going to want to eat, like you say, the New Orleans style food, the beignets, all that stuff alongside the attraction. It's more money for Disney to be making. So I'm surprised we haven't got an announcement about that. Alongside the Tiana's Bayou Adventure update, that might be something that might get announced for Magic Kingdom. We've heard and we've seen, Blog Mickey, I think, reported on it, that Pecos Bills had Imagineers wandering around the inside of that, looking at it, taking measurements, things like that inside Pecos Bills. It's likely that we might hear, as an announcement, that Tiana's Palace or a Tiana's Place or something like that will be coming to Pecos Bills as a replacement as part of the Tiana Bayou Adventure update. Then, next up, I think that the next thing that we'll definitely be hearing from and about will be Epcot. And more specifically, the unnamed, untitled Epcot Nighttime Spectacular. This is the artwork that we received. It looks fantastic. It looks extremely promising from what we can see here. I think it has a lot of the old Illuminations kind of aesthetics to it, with the fireworks and what we can see in this concept art. But we don't have a name for it. We don't have a name for it. We don't have an opening date for it. We know it's meant to be coming later on this year in celebration for Disney 100, apparently. Now, Disney's official 100th anniversary is taking place on October 16th of this year. That will be 100 years to the day that Walt and Roy founded their very first, the first iteration of the Walt Disney Company before it changed names a few times, the Disney Brothers Studio. So that will be the exact anniversary date. Now, I don't think that the Epcot show will debut on October 16th necessarily. Let me just double check what day of the week October 16th is. October 16th it's a Monday. I doubt it will debut on a Monday. It could. I doubt it, though. They usually like to debut these things around Fridays, but we'll see. So that's the official anniversary date, the Disney 100 anniversary date. But it's in celebration of the Disney 100th anniversary. But obviously, this is not just a temporary nighttime show. This is a permanent replacement to Illuminations, Reflections of Earth, and Harmonious. Harmonious, I did not like it, if I'm being totally honest. From what I heard early on, I was cautiously optimistic. I thought it had a lot more potential in Harmonious than what we ended up getting with the barges and things like that. If they would have moved backstage, I don't think anybody would have minded if those went in and out each day. I don't think people would have met the whole response to Harmonious would have been met as negatively as it did. So I would say when it comes to Harmonious and the replacement to this, I hope that they bring back the Illuminations name. I would love this Epcot show to have Illuminations in the title. I would love Illuminations and then give it whatever tag you want to give it afterwards. I would lean more into something like Harmony of Earth, and then that way it's kind of playing, it's playing on the whole Harmonious thing was the previous show, and it's not saying that Harmonious is completely gone, because obviously there's going to be some Harmonious elements integrated into this show. I don't expect this show to be non-IP. It's going to have Disney IP featured within this new Epcot nighttime show, most likely. But it will be done in a different way to what they did with Harmonious. I personally feel like Harmonious, the visuals on the screens and stuff didn't add anything to the show. They were like Windows Media Player visualizations. You know the old, when you used to like play a song on Windows Media Player. I'm dating myself now, but back in like Windows XP, and used to click on it and used to show the old visualizer thing. It looked like that. It was like, the Brave section was some red curly hair of Merida like swaying, and then you had the puppets for the Jungle Book segment. It just wasn't adding anything to the show. It wasn't adding anything to the storytelling. It was like a screensaver on these barges. I think the central ring wasn't as bad as the rest of the barges. If they'd got rid of I like to call them the taco barges. If they got rid of the taco barges, or taco barges, whatever you want to say, I think it would have made a lot more sense to keep the ring. But because it wasn't too obtrusive. Yes, it kind of ruined the sight lines, but it wasn't terrible. And I think it showed that Disney, the whole fountain thing during the daytime, that was a last-minute attempt to try and hide these barges, because considering that operations probably didn't want to bring them in and out every night, this new show, it seems like the new barges are going to be brought in and out every night. They're more maneuverable, and they're being built backstage at the moment, and they're going to be lower to the water level, and they won't be nearly as obtrusive when they are put out halfway through the day. So you'll get good World Showcase lagoon shots across the daytime, throughout the morning and into early afternoon, and then they'll bring those barges on out probably around 4 o'clock and get them anchored into place. Someone said, your boomer is showing. I am most certainly not a boomer. I'm 32 in 2 weeks' time, okay? I'm 31 right now. I'm 32 in 2 weeks' time. My birthday's in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, I'm only a millennial. I'm firmly planted directly in the middle of the millennial generation. I'm definitely a millennial. I'm not a Gen Z or anything like that. But, yeah, no, I personally feel that the Harmonious show left a lot to be desired. The initial concept with the whole kind of harmonious and the compass kind of idea and spinning around the compass, that would have been really cool if they'd have used a bit of voiceover. I found it a bit bizarre that in Enchantment they had voiceover, and yet the show that obviously Harmonious was replacing was Illuminations, and that initially had the voiceover of Jim Cummings, from who voices Winnie the Pooh and other characters. He did the voiceover for that back in in the late 90s for Reflections of Earth. And so I feel like if they brought back some narration for the Epcot show, we're all gathering around the lagoon, and they'd have said, we're going to gather around this compass, and it's harmonious, and we're going to gather around the compass and see where the compass takes us. That would have been a much better integration for the whole compass kind of setup with the taco-shaped barges and the ring in the middle. And then you could have said, oh, where else in the world are we going? And, you could have done that and then had the specific countries light up. You could have had the LEDs on the outside of the pavilions light up when we get to that country. It could have been integrated much better, but and I don't think people would have minded the Disney music as much if they had done something like that. But it just lacked storytelling, in my opinion. It was just a clip show. Okay, I'm trying to read the comments here as I go and stay on topic. Right, so Epcot nighttime show, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, definitely going to get updates on both those things. Then the next thing is opening date for Journey of Water. You may have seen by now my review of Journey of Water. Honest review, super duper honest, totally no lies whatsoever review of Journey of Water. I know you have to write honest review in these things because some people wrote in the comments saying, well, I'm glad this isn't a dishonest review. But, you have to play the YouTube game, don't you? It's a little bit clickbaity to say honest review, because what is a review if it's not honest? But I put honest review in the title there. And you may have seen the review I did of Journey of Water. It did exceed my expectations, but then again, my expectations were pretty low for it to begin with. And I feel like it's a great addition, just in the wrong park, in my own personal opinion. And it's fantastically themed. The Imagineers did an awful lot with what they were given, basically. They made the best out of a bad situation, and they created an interactive experience, which I think will be very popular for quite some time. Will it age badly? That's yet to be seen. But I think that the rock work and the theming and the way that it's laid out, I would have liked it so therefore you could walk through it, but it's a closed circuit. I think that a lot of people will like it and will enjoy it an awful lot, especially if you've got little ones. Like I've just got a newborn baby now. He's 10 weeks old this week. So it's something which for families, if you don't have children, you're probably never going to understand why this kind of thing's important. But it is needed in the parks, these kind of walkthroughs for the little ones to run around and exert some of that energy and burn off some of the midday heat, try and cool off in the midday heat and stuff like that. Speaking of which, Dad, I'm officially a Disney dad now. Okay, right, next up. So we got the opening date for Journey of Water, which is highly likely. I think it will be October time, because if we've got the cast previews ending in end of September, most likely I reckon we're going to get the opening date for October. World Celebration, I don't think we'll get an opening date for World Celebration. I think we'll get more details of it. We'll get a bit more of a behind-the-scenes glimpse, beyond the construction wall photos of Journey of Water and an update on it. But I don't think they'll be like, oh, we're going to open it on this day. it's just, the reason why I say that is because it's just an open area. It's not like they can be like, here's a grand opening of a new area to walk around. You know what I mean? It's not even an attraction or an experience. It's just landscaping, really, and the communal hall building. Maybe they might give a opening date for communal hall opening, but I would anticipate they just take down the construction walls later on this year and it'll be open. I think that'll be November. I reckon you'll see Journey of Water open before World Celebration is done in November. Okay, so let's go for the next. I see someone saying, "Lol, you're so young, 31. You're so young, 31." Yeah, I'm not that young. Okay. Okay. So, Avengers. Right. This is where. So, in terms of, let's just finish off Walt Disney World and then we'll move on to Disneyland. So also Hatbox Ghost, I think we'll get a date for when Hatbox Ghost will be debuting within the Haunted Mansion. I think that's highly likely. I think we'll get a date for Figment meet and greet opening. I think that's highly likely, and maybe even there was some concept art that was out there for, or they've made for the Figment meet and greet, and because obviously they're redoing the inside of Imagination image work, for Figment to go in there, and I think they'll probably tease us with a bit of artwork to show, this is what Figment's meet and greet will look like, that kind of thing. Trying to hype that up. Also, in terms of Walt Disney World, I think we might get a little bit of an update on, let me just find it here, the villas, the Polynesian, the villa thing at the DVC tower that they're building right next to the Polynesian. I think we'll get a bit of an update on that as well, maybe a look at the rooms or something like that. Other things which I would like to see updates on, which have kind of fallen away. This hasn't been officially cancelled, and that is the Play Pavilion. The Play Pavilion is still somewhat... so it's odd because we've seen construction permits and we've seen stuff get filed for the interior of the Play Pavilion, and we've seen they've been fabricating show, scenes and show set pieces for the inside of this thing, and you wouldn't imagine that Disney would be refurbishing Play Pavilion and building things for the inside of this thing with vendors, the construction vendors and stuff like that. Balfour Beatty, I think, was one. They're popular with Disney to do stuff like this on the inside. What's the other one? Adenir? Anyway, those ones are doing stuff on the inside of Play Pavilion. I anticipate we will get something at some point about Play Pavilion. I was walking by it the other day and I was like, it's almost like they try to hide its existence altogether now, Wonders of Life. Such a great building for them to put something in. I would anticipate Play Pavilion get mentioned. Maybe it's not the Play Pavilion anymore. Maybe they've pivoted the idea and they're going to do something different. Maybe I personally feel like the COVID pandemic kind of made Disney realize, maybe not having an interactive indoor area where kids run around and have lots of tactile touch, exhibits where they can touch everything and then, germs can spread like that. Maybe that's not the best idea for the Play Pavilion. Maybe they've pivoted the idea and that's the reason why it's been delayed and we haven't heard about it for a while. But I would expect that at some point we will hear something about the Play Pavilion because it hasn't been taken off it hasn't been announced that it's indefinitely postponed by anybody reaching out to Disney. Much like Mary Poppins attraction with Cherry Tree Lane thing, Disney released a statement saying that's indefinitely postponed. They did the same with Spaceship Earth as well. That was also mentioned as part of the indefinite postponement. So maybe, we'll get something back for Spaceship Earth. It's in desperate need of a renovation, the ride system of Spaceship Earth. But when Spaceship Earth does go down for a refurbishment, it's going to be a lengthy refurbishment. That's going to be like 2 or 3 years. It's a very difficult ride to refurbish the actual track system around it, but it's in desperate need of it. And whenever they do decide to do that, they're going to also take the opportunity to update the show scenes inside as well and everything else along with it. Yeah, maybe they'll say that for next year. Maybe they'll push it off a little bit further. But those are the other two kind of projects which I'm wondering about. I'm going to get to, don't worry about it, guys, I'm going to get to Zootopia and Dino Land and Moana. Just working my way through everything. Okay. So we've been doing this for 25 minutes so far. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, to this live stream. I'm not done yet. Just moving through everything. Right. So the other thing to talk about is one other thing I want to mention: the Epcot show. Here's a photo of Disneyland Paris and the drone shows they've been doing over in Disneyland Paris with like 500 to 2,000 drones they've been using in Disneyland Paris. Don't expect that for the Epcot show. From what I've heard, we would have seen permits for with the FAA to introduce drones within the Epcot show by now, because they'd have to be testing them fairly soon. So don't anticipate drones within the Epcot nighttime show, which is a bit of a disappointment because, Disneyland Paris tends to do things before Walt Disney World. That's just they did projection mapping before Walt Disney World. They did Disney Dreams, which was a fantastic show in 2012, which debuted in Disneyland Paris with projection mapping. And then in 2017, we got Happily Ever After in Walt Disney World with projection mapping. If Disneyland Paris has started doing drones last year, give it 5 years. Maybe we'll see it in Walt Disney World. But personally, the reason I would love to see these drones being used over World Showcase Lagoon, I think it's a fantastic opportunity in World Showcase Lagoon to have these drones, right in the center, do 3D shapes and things like that people can really, see from all sides of the lake. It would be fantastic. I just want to bring up the super chat here. It says from Hero75, I think there is an outside chance of expansion to Skyliner, to Disney Springs, and other hotels being announced at this D23, at this Destination D. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I think I don't have on my list here, which was the Skyliner. It's actually a pretty good point, because the Skyliner has proved to be successful. It's proved to be, a good way to automate part of the transportation system and run it, in an efficient way. It's worked throughout hurricanes and stuff like that. It stood the test of that. It stood the test of hot summer days. And, it's such a good point. I think that the Skyliner, there's an outside chance that they will, like you say, an outside chance there, that they might announce an expansion to Skyliner. I don't know if they would go to Disney Springs immediately. I know that's the end goal, is to try and get it over to Disney Springs. If the Brightline train service, the high-speed rail service, had built its station at Disney Springs, I think we would have heard a Skyliner expansion by now to Disney Springs for that reason, to try and connect the resort a bit better. But because obviously it's not being built there, I don't know if there's a rush to try and get the Skyliner to Springs for that. Okay, other stuff I want to bring up. Right, we're a bit all over the place, just jumping around all over the place here, guys. So, other things which I think are almost a certain lock-in for Destination D. Zootopia Land at Shanghai Disneyland opening date. I think it's highly likely that we'll get an opening date announced. We know that the Frozen Land over in Hong Kong Disneyland is opening in November of 2023. So not long to go for that. But Zootopia had their creative preview this week, and that's the reason why we received all these photos. Let me just go through them all. Give me a sec. All these photos of the actual land itself. This isn't concept art. This is an actual photo of the Zootopia land over at Shanghai Disneyland. And, it looks really quite impressive, the level of detail to the theming they've actually put into this. That's the polar bear. I think that's an animatronic, actually, a limited motion outdoor animatronic. But, it's impressive theming. You've got to give it to them with that. That's the ZPD car within the attraction. But I think we'll get an extended, teaser or inside look at the attraction itself, which I think, if I remember right, Scott Gustin actually tweeted it out, the name of the attraction. I think it's Zootopia High Speed Chase or something. Let me just double check. Zootopia Hot Pursuit. That's what the name of the attraction is. Let me just put that in here. Wait, give me a sec. There you go. Hot Pursuit. That's the name of the attraction. So, by the way, Scott Gustin, I have his notifications on Twitter because he's fantastic with the Disney news. He always brings it out. He has a lot of connections as well, so he's pretty good from a wider business sense. He has a lot of connections, so he has a lot of media connections, and he gets a lot of press release and stuff like that before anyone else. So pretty great with. He doesn't tend to speculate too much on his Twitter, and he doesn't tend to really post that many rumors. But he's fantastic with the official information. If you want to know something's happening, Scott Gustin's pretty good follow on Twitter, I'd say. Also, guys, I'm seeing everybody's comments there. Right, so I think we're going to get Disney Treasure details as well. Obviously, they had the live unveiling of that yesterday morning. So I think we'll get more details about that. And that wraps us up for the official, what we're going to get at Destination D. Now, this is a possible but not likely segment. So I think it's a good chance, but, it's a 50-50, could go either way. Now, the first one which I've got on the list here is one which it's a rumor that keeps coming back around and around and around, and that is a nighttime parade at Walt Disney World. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking on my part. It's not just that I would love to see a return of a nighttime parade at Walt Disney World, but it's also been something that's been rumored for a long time, and the idea keeps being floated around. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because Disney is beginning to see a softening of the demand for the parks at the moment, going into next year. And one way of hardening up some of that demand would be to announce something like a new nighttime offering at another park, like Hollywood Studios, for an example. And I feel like you can't really do a nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom now with Happily Ever After and all the other stuff. It's very difficult for them to do. But if they were to do it at Hollywood Studios, that would be an option. I feel like that would, if they're looking to sunset the Chinese theatre show, a nighttime parade there would make a lot of sense as well. But the nighttime parade that has been spoken about for years now is Paint the Night. And it's not the Paint the Night from Disneyland, before all the Disneyland fans, lose their minds about Paint the Night possibly going away forever. It's apparently the one from Hong Kong, which would be brought over to Walt Disney World. Maybe a shortened version of it for Walt Disney World, but a Paint the Night parade kind of thing. And I feel like that parade itself, because it's so IP heavy, and it's so it's got a lot of Pixar representation in it, it's got a lot of animation representation in it. I think it would be fantastic for Hollywood Studios. If you could have the cars, you could have the Monsters Inc. segment, all of that sort of stuff would look great within a nighttime show for Disney's Hollywood Studios. The only issue is trying to, Hollywood Studios, the actual parade route itself is pretty not very deep on each side, so you can't get a lot of people down the sides of the streets. So that would be a bit of a difficulty. But they could possibly do it. Hollywood Studios used to have parades on a regular basis during the 90s for the upcoming animated movies, so it is possible. So nighttime parade is not likely, but it's possible it could get announced. It could be a big shock, kind of like surprise announcement that we'd all be buzzing about on Saturday. Right. The other thing. Now, here's the dinosaur in the room, not the elephant in the room, the dinosaur in the room. Dinoland USA. And what will become of Dinoland USA. I was actually in Dinoland yesterday in Animal Kingdom getting footage, just in case something gets announced and they decide to... Oh, wait, let me just double check. Offhand Disney's in the chat, everybody. Darwin, that's... What's he said? Disneyland fans would lose their minds if Walt Disney World gets Paint the Night. That being said, yes, please. Yeah, and Darwin can speak for Disneyland fans. I know that for a fact. He is like the ultimate Disneyland fan. He covers an awful lot of stuff over in Disneyland. Does a great job with it. I actually recently watched your video on the Haunted Mansion queue, Darwin. Great job with that. The queue expansion over at Disneyland, so he always covers all that sort of stuff. So shout out to Darwin, go check him out on Offhand Disney. But yeah, so coming back to the Dinoland USA side of things, I believe that so here's the way to look at it. It's not so much would they announce it at Destination D. It's a matter of do they need to right now in terms of construction. And from my perspective, if you look at it from a marketing perspective and a fiscal year's perspective, the fiscal year begins for Disney in October, their new fiscal year. That's when they get a new allocation of CapEx. And when it comes to announcing new projects, that would really, bump their next year of CapEx. Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Dinoland. And next year, for 2024, Disney's got Tiana's Bayou Adventure as their 2024 offering. The parks, Walt Disney World and Disneyland need to have something new especially Walt Disney World, needs to have something new every year to bring the crowds in. It's either that or offer a special promotion. And, that will incentivize people to come as well. But for the last 6 years, they've conditioned, actually longer, they've conditioned people since 2016 to expect something new at Walt Disney World every year. And if you look at it, let's go through it, shall we? Frozen Ever After was in 2016, and so was Soarin' at Epcot. So Epcot was the big central focus of 2016. That was Soarin' around the world, Soarin' around the world, and Frozen Ever After in Epcot. That was 2016. 2017, they had Pandora, the World of Avatar. 2018, you had Toy Story Land. 2019, you had Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. 2020, you had Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which, parts shut, but still, when it reopened, they had Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. 2021, towards the end of the year, you had Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. 2022, you had Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. 2023, for this year, you've had Tron Light Cycle Run. 2024, you've got Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And then 2025, they have nothing. So if they've got nothing in 2025, what else is happening in 2025? And we know the Epic Universe is opening in summer of 2025. So I bet what Disney executives are thinking right now is that they'll get a bump off, a rising tide lifts all ships, and they're hoping for a bump off Epic Universe. If lots of people coming to Orlando to check out the Super Nintendo World, the new Harry Potter Land, the Classic Monsters Land, and How to Train Your Dragon, and just overall the new park in general, they're hoping that probably if they offer some sort of really competitive discount to their tickets. I know in Disney they don't often offer Disney and competitive pricing doesn't really go in the same sentence anymore. But if they were to offer some sort of special offer in 2025, Disney's probably betting on the fact that they'll be able to pull in a lot of people who are going to go see Epic Universe in summer, and they'll be like, oh, we'll go see Disney World as well. They've got a fantastic deal on Disney World, and people won't turn down Walt Disney World if that's the option. So, but then 2026, Epic Universe, there'll still be some buzz about Epic Universe, but it won't be quite there as it was before. And Disney World needs something for 2026. Definitely they need something for 2027. And of those two, you've got their Blue Sky plans, which are most far along at the moment for the Moana themed land and Zootopia coming to Animal Kingdom. I think, given the popularity of Moana, the Moana themed land makes the most sense to greenlight and put into construction straight away and begin work on it, because I actually said this in my Journey of Water video. Moana itself, the actual message of the movie, is about conservation. Now, I know a lot of people say Animal Kingdom is about animal conservation. Well, to that I also say you've got Kali River Rapids, which is about a story of logging and deforestation and humans' effect on deforestation. And, Moana is a movie about a demigod and his greed and how that affects the island, the conservation of the island. So you've got human influence on the environment, and Kali River Rapids was that, Moana's that, and also Pandora is that. It's about mining resources on the planet of Pandora, and that's how it fits within the conservation idea of Animal Kingdom. So Moana in many ways does fit. Zootopia, I know a lot of people say they're really looking forward to Zootopia. I actually put out a tweet yesterday saying I would like to see Zootopia over in Hollywood Studios, albeit I do think we're probably going to end up getting it in Animal Kingdom. I mean, just look at this for an example. So you've got the ZPT cop car there, and then this is a dinosaur vehicle. I mean, it's not the same ride system. The one in Shanghai is a trackless ride system. It's basically Nick and Judy's runaway cop car. But Dinosaur is the same track layout as, or the same ride system as Indiana Jones Adventure over in Disneyland. You know, it's the EMV, the enhanced motion vehicle ride system. So, you know, we'll most likely see that. And here's another one to keep an eye on: the Avengers Quinjet. That looks eerily suspicious in terms of the layout there. Rise of Resistance or Mickey and Minnie's or that ZPT car, the trackless ride vehicle. That looks like it might be a trackless ride vehicle there. We're unsure yet what that will be, but we might get more details on that, and an opening date for that being, you know, they're working on it and it's opening in 2026 or 2027 at Disneyland. So they need something for 2026 or 2027. That's the reason why I'm feeling more certain we might get an announcement at Destination D. Typically and ordinarily, I would say that having this kind of announcement at Destination D instead of D23 Expo doesn't really make sense, because D23 will get more attention, but Disney need to announce them and get it in the works right now. And that's the reason why I think there's a higher chance that we might get something announced at Destination D for Moana going into Animal Kingdom. And it will be, you know, Journey of Water's opening in Epcot and Moana's opening in Animal Kingdom as well. You know, that kind of thing. And Cliff Flicks says here, no animals with pants, Joe Rody said. And this actually brings me to my next point about Zootopia in Animal Kingdom. So Zootopia, if we're being honest about it, Zootopia, it's a movie with lots of animals, we know that. It made over $1 billion. Did very well in 2016. They've had the animated shorts series, the Zootopia series on Disney Plus, and they're working on a Zootopia 2. Now, clearly they're going to build a Zootopia land at Walt Disney World somewhere. And clearly it looks like it's going to go into Animal Kingdom. Personally, that no pants rule isn't really the objection that I have. The objection I have with Zootopia is the theme of the movie isn't about animals and conservation and stuff like that. The theme of the movie itself is about social justice, or social injustice or social justice. And to go into Animal Kingdom, see a bunch of animals that are pretending to be the ZPD police, you know, the Zootopia Police Department, riding around in a cop car with animals all around you, I think it'll be very weird. I can see how people say Animal Kingdom makes sense, but Jungle Book has a lot of animals in it. I'd prefer that in Animal Kingdom. And if we don't care about the pants rule, Robin Hood has animals in it, 101 Dalmatians has animals in it, Bambi has animals in it. You know, you name the movies, and there's so many movies with animals, Disney movies with animals in them. That will qualify for Animal Kingdom just based upon the idea that there's animals, so it has to go in Animal Kingdom. In which case, if there's magic, does it have to go into Magic Kingdom? You know, we've got to think about the theme of the parks here, and I think it's likely that Zootopia is going to take over Dinosaur. I did say that last year at D23 Expo. When we saw the concept art, I showed it and I said, that's the Dinosaur building, guys. You know, that's it. Dinosaurs are gonna. And now it seems like everyone's starting to say Dinosaurs going. And because, you know, we can see more stuff from Zootopia coming out over in Shanghai and how great it looks. I mean, it does look pretty great. I won't deny them that. Let me just show this image again. But and the other thing is, typically Disney don't tend to the duplication of these projects. If it's in Shanghai Disneyland, not many people are going to have the opportunity to go over and experience Zootopia in Shanghai. So I can see them bringing it to Walt Disney World for that reason, much like they did with Tron. But my problem with that is, if we all see it in Shanghai, it's not like YouTube doesn't exist. I'm here broadcasting right now on YouTube. But if when it comes to Zootopia, if we all see the POVs, you know, the point of view YouTube ride-throughs of the Zootopia attraction, when it takes them 4 years to build it, is the excitement going to be there the same way that it would have been if it would have been a Walt Disney World exclusive first run project? Not necessarily from that standpoint. You know, I think we all interested to ride Tron and all excited to ride it when it was first announced in 2017, which was 1 year after it had opened in Shanghai Disneyland. But then year after year after year, it just dragged on, and people just lost interest. Does it take away from the overall attraction? No, it's still a great ride in terms of thrill factor and stuff like that. But I don't think it's been the needle mover in terms of marketing and demand that Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind was for Disney Company last year. Tron hasn't been that for the Magic Kingdom this year. I don't think people are clambering to get to Walt Disney World to ride Tron because they've seen it. They've seen the 90-second ride through on YouTube. And it'll be the same thing with Zootopia. Now, if they were to announce that it's going to go into Dinosaur, or, the dinosaur area, but it's a different ride system, and so because it's a different ride system, it's a different story, maybe they'll have a chance to regain that interest in Zootopia. But if it's just going to be the exact same story, I don't think people will be as interested. I mean, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened in 2020 in Walt Disney World, and it opened in Disneyland early this year in January, and that was roughly 2.5 years apart. This Zootopia one, it's opening this year. It's going to be 3 years before it opens. Disney build times at the moment, they could build something much quicker if they wanted to. There's this kind of myth that Disney builds slowly. They can build quickly if they want to, it's just that they choose not to. And that's actually probably more damning than anything else, that they choose to build slowly. Drew says here they could time the opening of Zootopia 2 with the opening with the release of Zootopia 2, which would probably be a bit of time for them. Sorry, I'm late. This is Bonnie saying here we will be there next week. Wish we could do the AP preview for Moana. I don't know if there's a AP preview listing gone out yet for Moana. I know it's cast at the moment, but the cast previews have been going on. So I want to come back to some more of these comments here. Sounds like the company is going to have to invest in another big old shoehorn to fit Zootopia into Animal Kingdom. Yeah, to be honest, they're going to have to almost turn themselves into a pretzel, bending around to try and work this one into Animal Kingdom. And I think we've already started to see the rollout of this, where they're saying, it's a little bit about animal preservation and conservation and stuff like that. They're trying to work it in there about the natural world. But Zootopia is not about that. Zootopia was about social justice within the movie. And prejudice and stuff like that. It wasn't about that. The offhand says here, this is Dolan saying, the only angle I could see working for Zootopia and Animal Kingdom is civilization living in harmony with nature. Although I'm not sure how a high-speed cop chase attraction would help send that message. Yeah, no, I agree that when it comes to Zootopia and Animal Kingdom, it just doesn't make sense. And this is what I would have liked to see them do, but Indiana Jones doing so badly at the box office, I don't think we've got much chance of it. But now, I mean, if Indiana Jones would have made $1 billion, it would have been a whole different matter. Even if Indiana Jones had more than broken even, it would be a different matter. But Indiana Jones didn't break even at all. So it fell really flat. But what I would have liked to see done with the dinosaur ride system, let me just bring up the dinosaur ride system here, give me a sec, is turn this, obviously it's the exact same ride system as Indiana Jones Adventure over in Disneyland, make this an Indiana Jones attraction, but theme it around animals. And you may say, Indiana Jones is about, he's not about animals, he's about trying to find artifacts and mythological stuff. Yes. What is Animal Kingdom all about? Animal Kingdom was about the animals of today and ones of fantasy and mythology, and yesterday, in terms of like dinosaurs and stuff, prehistoric, fantasy and natural animals. And what I would think would have been a great idea for a dinosaur would have been to retheme it to Indiana Jones, but then theme it around Indiana Jones trying to find an artifact which is tied to Egyptian mythology and the Sphinx or something like that. Then you've got the archaeological component, you've got the animal component, because it's like the Sphinx is kind of like this mythological kind of creature. You could even theme it around, you could even do it like Indiana Jones is trying to obtain dragon eggs because there's a golden dragon egg, you know, and it has this kind of immense power. You know, you could make up a myth about dragon eggs or something like that and theme Indiana Jones and the search for the forbidden egg or something like that. It would work. And then you could put Indiana Jones into Animal Kingdom quite well, and you could retheme the boneyard area to, you know, like an excavation area for Indiana Jones, and it would work. It would work. I think it would work a lot better than Zootopia with Animal Kingdom, but would it move the needle in terms of people wanting to come out and see Indiana Jones? I think that might work, but other people are saying here C, as in Society of Explorers and Adventurers. They could have integrated that with Indiana Jones as well. Snakes, why did it have to be snakes? Yeah, the famous quote from Indiana Jones is that. Now, obviously, snakes isn't enough to make it an Animal Kingdom attraction, but if they themed it around mythological creatures like dragons, for instance, I think that would work. I mean, it would also align with the logo of Animal Kingdom. You've got dragons on the outside of the entrance to Animal Kingdom, and they never once had a dragon in there. So I think it would really work from that kind of perspective. But nevertheless, I think that when it comes to Zootopia and Moana, I think Moana is more of a chance getting announced on Saturday. Zootopia's got a fairly good chance because they could just easily tack it onto the end of the Zootopia segment on Shanghai Disneyland and say, and it's officially coming to Walt Disney World. They could say that. They could do that then. Then the other things I want to talk about is one other thing I want to talk about here. In terms of not being... Well, two things. We've got... I'm just reading all my notes here. Give me a second. So we've covered pretty much everything so far, except for this attraction. Rock and Roller Coaster is one that just keeps getting mentioned as potentially a retheme to Rock and Roller Coaster. And the latest one was early this year. There was mention of Rock and Roller Coaster and Muppets Mayhem. Clearly they want to retheme Rock and Roller Coaster at some point. The contract on that with Aerosmith is coming up, you know, must be fairly soon. Unless Aerosmith's giving it to Disney for a very cheap rate, I doubt that they want to keep Rock and Roller Coaster in Hollywood Studios for much longer. It's not a band many people know. I know of Aerosmith because, you know, I was born in the 90s, and Aerosmith kind of had a resurgence in the late 90s with Don't Want to Miss a Thing and Pink and stuff like that, and you know, around the Armageddon movie. But a lot of kids nowadays don't know Aerosmith, and so they'll probably want to retheme Aerosmith at some point, Rock and Roller Coaster, to something else. So Muppets would work. I feel like it would work, and I would also think that if they wanted to retheme Muppets Courtyard, the Grand Avenue area, and turn that into something else, you could put Muppets. You could move, but would Disney do this? I don't know, because it costs a lot of money. But like, you could put Muppet Vision 3D into where the cars, what's it called, Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. You could put it into that building there and retheme that whole area to Muppets up near Hollywood Tower of Terror. Would they spend the money to do that? I doubt they would spend the money to move an attraction. But it's an interesting concept, nevertheless. And Rock and Roller Coaster is one of those attractions which we've got to keep an eye on to get an announcement at some point. I don't think it'll be this year, probably be D23 next year. Also, Journey into Imagination, again, another attraction which we've got to keep an eye on, because eventually they're going to want to do something with Journey into Imagination. It's the last piece of the Epcot Future World puzzle they really need to fix. And it needs to be it's too big of a space, it's too great of an idea, the Imagination Pavilion, to not give it, you know, a complete renovation and get the fans excited for it. Because Figment is such a strong character in terms of, you know, fan appeal. You know, you saw it with the popcorn buckets last year and everything like that. That just shows the demand. Figment is almost the mascot of Epcot. He's used for all of the different. He's used for food and wine, I believe, and he was also used for the Festival of the Arts and stuff. So, you know, he's being used as the Epcot mascot. You need to give that attraction a lot of love and give it a lot of good renovation as well. Someone said here, Monsters Inc. Land at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll be getting that, to be honest. I don't feel like that is one which would be necessary right now. And it wouldn't be for Destination D. We wouldn't get that kind of level announcement at Destination D. Main Street News says here, by the way, Main Street News, a YouTuber, does some great work on his videos. Yeah, I feel like a Rock and Roller Coaster retheme could happen. They already did that one in Paris. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's already happened in Paris with Avengers Flight Force, which had to go through its own issues of when it first opened, and then they came back and they added more effects, and people are slightly happier with it now. I still think they missed an opportunity to license AC/DC for that attraction, considering that it's basically AC/DC music is basically the soundtrack to the Iron Man movies. It would have made a lot of sense to do that, because whether people don't know it's AC/DC or not, they know the AC/DC music from Iron Man, and it's like, oh, you think Shoot to Thrill and things like that. When you hear that, you think of Iron Man. Nowadays, a lot of people do. I got a super chat coming here, said they will never do it, but introducing new films to Muppet Vision 3D would be great. Imagine a Halloween, Christmas and 4th of July show. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. Yeah, you are right, they'll never do it. I would never want to see the original go away, because although how it's kind of timeless, except for the end moment when the fire truck bursts through the wall at the end, and you kind of see the guests outside, in the early 90s attire. In actual fact, a lot of that dress sense has now actually come back into fashion again. So it actually looks better now than it did 5 years ago. But I wouldn't want to see it gone, because that was the last Muppets movie that Jim Henson ever directed with the Muppets. So from that perspective, I would never like to see the movie go, a bit like the Soaring Over California kind of deal. But I think a overlay, like some sort of limited time run, would work. But the thinking is that they don't tend to do these kind of things at Walt Disney World, because people want to come and, they visit Walt Disney World once every 4 years, and they want to experience Walt Disney World the way they know it, rather than trying to entice locals to come and experience Walt Disney World, which is what Disneyland do with their holiday overlays. Someone said here, I just want to shout out some people where they're watching from. Watching from the Netherlands, good to see you. That's good there. By the way, guys, let me know where you're watching from right now, because it's always fun. I mean, there's 611 people watching right now. It'd be great to see where you guys are all watching from. Because I kind of just imagine that this just goes out to the US, but I do know there's an international audience as well. And me being international myself, I would love to see where you all watch from. I know it's late over in Europe right now. It's if you're watching in the Netherlands, it's at least 1 a.m. in the morning. Right now, probably 2 actually in the morning. Got someone watching from Germany there. That's interesting. So the thing is, and we're coming towards a wrap-up section now, because we're at 57 minutes. Let's keep this to an hour 15, a bit like the Destination D event will be on Saturday. Okay, so I'll cut it off in around 15 minutes time. But the demise of D23 as a promotional tool, if they don't, oh my God, look at this, all the people coming in here now. South Texas, Colorado, Watford, UK, Central Florida, Mexico, Anaheim, next door to Disneyland, Michigan, people. Hello from UK and Manchester, Litchfield, UK, East Coast of Canada, someone said here, Vero Beach, Florida, East Coast of Canada, Kentucky, Chicago, San Francisco, all over the place, Milton Keynes, UK, Maryland, Indiana, all over the place. Everyone's, God, that's a bigger international audience than I expected, considering the hour that it is in the UK and Europe right now. It's currently 1 in the morning at least. It's 12 or 1 in the morning over there right now. So right, coming back to my final point, which is D23. I feel right now they're at a tipping point. They're at a precipice. If they don't come out swinging this Saturday with announcements, number one, they're going to be behind the curve in terms of having construction ready to go and have something ready to open for 2026 2027. They need to announce these projects now. The other things are, wild card things like Tiana's Palace restaurant over in Magic Kingdom. I know Haunted Mansion keeps getting mentioned as different stuff for like, building out on that whole Haunted Mansion. Maybe the movie flopping will have, stopped them from doing anything with Haunted Mansion. And what's the other wild card? It's hard to imaginations in that's it. Magic Kingdom expansion project. I don't think we're gonna get an update regarding Encanto and Coco and Villains Land. I think that'll be pushed off till next year in D23 Expo next year. That'll be the big announcement next year. Will be a confirmation about the Villains Land and Encanto and Coco, and I think they'll probably, and that's maybe the reason why, because those three things getting properly announced next year will be a big thing at D23 Expo, even though they've kind of already teased it. But if they announce, Zootopia and Moana happening this year, and we actually get proper solid concept art and a confirmation that it's definitely happening, Dino Land and Dinorama's a dead zone. I was there yesterday, and people walk around it like it's, like the original conceit of the entire land was. It's in the it's a roadside attraction in a car park in a parking lot. People do wander around it now, like that meme, not the meme, the gif of John Travolta from Pulp Fiction walking around. People do that when they walk into Dinorama now. They're kind of like, what is this? It's construction wall there. People are shouting at me about game stuff, oh, come, round up, come play basketball, that kind of thing. And then you've got Triceratops spin, and people are like, what is this? It really is that kind of, how I just stumbled into Six Flags. No disrespect to Six Flags or something like that. I'm not mean to give disrespect to Six Flags, but to a regional theme park rather than Disney theme park with the IP of Disney, because it isn't Disney IP, and it's so jarring with the rest of Animal Kingdom, I think that people do feel like they're in a regional park when they step into that part of Dinorama. Anyway, coming back to the point, D23 this year, if they don't come out swinging with a announcement to get the fan base excited in terms of interested in the Disney parks, I feel right now we're at a precipice, and the Disney fan base is starting to turn off in a major way from getting excited about it. They're becoming pretty jaded, and there's been a real jading of the entire community, and people are starting to really feel like, oh yeah, Disney takes so long to build things. It's true. It's not inaccurate. It's true. They do take too long to build things. Disney announce things too far in advance. They do announce things too far in advance, and that's also a thing against them. But I feel like if they don't announce something now, that jading of the community is going to get much worse. And D23 Expo next year, which will happen most likely in September next year, I believe it is, it's going to be much worse. And I think they're really at a point right now, they need to turn it around. I just saw someone say in the chat here, I'll just someone said, I'll disrespect Six Flags. I can't comment. I've never been to Six Flags, so I can't really comment on it. I've only just seen clips of it. But when it comes to this year, they need to do something to rectify the situation. And if they don't, who knows? So that's the whole problem at the moment with D23. So they need to come out swinging. Little side note about my channel, guys. I just wanted to bring this up. I didn't want to mention it at the top of the show, but at the top of the hour. But recently received a troubling notification from YouTube, and it said about the ad placement in the videos and stuff like that, and how they're gonna. Basically, the long short of it might be, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to be doing this in terms of DSNY Newscast. I've got to play it by ear at the moment. I want to find out a bit more. But basically, the ad placement in the videos, I got a weird notification that said, oh, your ads are ineligible or something like that. And I researched a bit. And this is a bug that's been affecting some YouTube creators. and it's a complete bug. It seems like it's a bug on YouTube's part, and it more than halves people's ad revenue. It like cuts it by 80%, and it's like the RPM just drops. And so if that actually does happen to the channel, it's too early to say right now. I got the notification like 3 days ago, and I'm watching it like a hawk. If it does start to affect the channel, if it does mean the revenue drops, obviously I've got to do what's best for me and my family. I don't know what I'll be doing with the channel. That's being totally honest with you. I like to be as upfront as possible. And I saw it the other day, and I thought I'll address it in my live stream. The other ways you can support the channel is Patreon. There's $1 tiers on Patreon. Just $1 a month is more of a help to the channel than watching any of my adverts or in the YouTube videos or anything like that. It really is a help. So if you want to really help support the channel, Patreon's a fantastic way to do so. For $1 a month would be great. But if it really is what it seems like, if this bug does stay persistent on my YouTube channel, then I might have to move everything behind Patreon. I'm not certain yet, because that will be the only way to keep this thing going and be able to make it worth all the time that I put into editing the videos and all that sort of stuff, because it takes a long time to do everything. I do everything on the channel here. I do the social media stuff. Any tweet that you see posted is me. Any Instagram thing you see posted is me. It's videos, scripting, research, editing, hosting, obviously, everything I do. I don't have a team of people. No, it seems like DSNY Newscast is a team of people. It is just me. So from that standpoint, just wanted to mention that because, just laying the groundwork. If there is a problem, I will do, if it does end up becoming a big problem for my channel, you'll know about it because I'll be doing a video on it and explaining, and I'll show the revenue drop and I'll show the RPM and stuff like that if it does end up becoming a major deal for the channel, because if I don't talk about it, then other YouTube creators won't talk about it as well, and people need to. It's a bit like in 2017 when Logan Paul went and filmed that stupid vlog. He caused an ad apocalypse to happen. It was called that within the media, but basically a bunch of advertisers decided to pull their funding from YouTube, and it dipped everyone's advertising revenue by half. I noticed mine half when that happened, but then it kind of bounced back. That was only a temporary blip. If this bug is affecting my channel, I can't do anything about it, and I've even researched it, and it says you can't really even appeal it because YouTube are like, oh well, we won't accept it's a bug, that kind of thing. So we'll see. But there's other YouTube creators. I've watched quite a few videos on it and people talking about it with much bigger followings than me. Like, they've got like 200,000 subscribers, and it's happening to them as well. It's just, and it's been happening to smaller creators, been happening to people with 5,000 subscribers, and it's just really, really disheartening to see a bug like that affect people's revenue. So we'll see what happens. But I did want to bring it up. I didn't want to mention at the start of the live stream because I didn't want to put it down on everything, because at the end of the day, this whole live stream was about looking forward to Saturday and Destination D and everything that's coming up, rather than just going on about housekeeping in terms of the DSNY Newscast channel. But I did want to mention it at the end, and I do actually want to say a special thanks to the Waltoneers over on Patreon for supporting. So we've got the Waltoneer Gold members there, who support every single video, and that's like an executive producer role at the end where you can get a shout out at the end. So thank you to all the Waltoneer Gold members there. But I also want to say a special shout out to Kyle Mahan for also supporting on Patreon as well. It's much appreciated as well, and just everyone over on Patreon. There's tiers from $1 a month. I do Newscast Extra on there once a month roughly. I actually did an exclusive of someone says here. So someone said, let me just read this comment. Give me a sec. Let me just type it. Yeah. So I just wanted to very quickly mention that and say that there's the official Waltoneer Club over on Patreon, and I've done, before I actually did the Journey of Water review on YouTube, I actually did an exclusive for Patreon talking about the experience, and they actually got that first over on Patreon. So I do exclusive content over on Patreon as well, and I'll be doing more of it in the future if this thing ends up really affecting the channel. So I don't want to really say, oh, this is all doom and gloom right now, because we don't know for certain how much of an effect it's having. But if it does, I'll let you know. Okay. But yeah, $1 a month on Patreon, you can go and become an official Waltoneer on the club, and there's different tiers there. And if you do $30 a month, you get your name mentioned at the end as a special shout out at the end. It's just the usual stuff that every YouTube creator does. If you go to Patreon and type in any one of your YouTube favorites, you'll most likely find a Patreon of theirs, and they all have different tiers, and the most expensive tier is usually the one which has the executive producer role at the end or something like that. So it's just the usual stuff, but I didn't really want to talk about it in a big way, but I have to also mention it. But with that being said, guys, that's basically the rundown of everything at D23. So Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Let's just do a quick rundown. Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Epcot Nighttime Show, Journey of Water opening date, World Celebration, maybe an opening date for Communicore Hall, Avengers Ride details in DCA, probably going to get more details about that. Hatbox Ghost, probably a date for when it will debut over in Magic Kingdom. Figment Meet and Greet, probably a date for when that will debut, or concept art for the Figment Meet and Greet or something like that. Zootopia Land opening date over at Shanghai Disneyland, along with a teaser and everything else for the ride there. Frozen Land over in Hong Kong Disneyland, opening date, along with a preview of that as well. More Disney Treasure the Ship details. Probably get a couple more details, maybe of I think there's one restaurant they haven't mentioned yet. There's usually 3 restaurants on these ships. We've received Worlds of Marvel and Plaza de Coco, which looks fantastic by the way, on board the Disney Treasure, so we'll probably get one more announcement about that, or maybe it'll come later. And then we've also got other things which might get mentioned, such as a nighttime parade possibly for Walt Disney World. It's unlikely, if I'm being totally honest, but it's been rumored for so long that I wanted to put it in there. It's one that it's a persistent rumor that keeps coming back. Oh, there's possibly a nighttime parade happening, so I do want to mention it. It's been mentioned for years. Moana and Zootopia plans announced for Animal Kingdom, officially announced, not just Blue Sky this time. I think Moana themed land would make a lot of sense. And along with the Zootopia retheme of Dinosaur, I think there's a good chance that we might get that Destination D, considering that at D23 Expo next year, they could announce Villains Land, Encanto, and Coco for Magic Kingdom, and that could be the big 3 for D23 next year. But they do need to get something announced soon, because they do need to start construction ready for 2026-2027 opening dates to have something to offer at Walt Disney World. And then also, outside things, Play Pavilion, possibly get an update regarding that. Also, Spaceship Earth, they might mention Spaceship Earth. I know that D23 are also having a special night at Epcot on Saturday night, I believe, where they're going to reveal more. So it could be something to do with Spaceship Earth, might get something about that, but probably a preview of Journey of Water, if I'm being totally honest. And that's pretty much the whole rundown of everything. Disneyland Paris I haven't really mentioned yet, because they tend to have their own inside DLP, inside ears events that they have, and they like to announce their own projects, their own updates regarding the Walt Disney Studios park expansion at Disneyland Paris. Similarly, Oriental Land Company just released a bunch of info regarding Fantasy Springs that opens next year at Tokyo Disney Sea. Possible that Josh D'Amaro will do a rundown of Fantasy Springs to try and fill some time, but it probably will be the same details that we've already heard, the same attraction names for Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Tangled and Frozen rides that they've got going to Fantasy Springs, and probably an extended look of a flyover of the land. So something like that. Someone's saying here, how's your baby? My little boy is doing fantastic. Thank you for asking that. I've just had a text message from my wife saying he's He's sleeping right now, so please, when you end the live stream, be quiet because he's sleeping. So once I come out my my studio here, I'll be tiptoeing to keep him quiet and hopefully give him an opportunity to get some more sleep. But I've been getting okay sleep. Not last night. The night before was a really bad night. But last night he slept through the night, so that was nice. But whenever I say he sleeps through the night, it kind of jinxes it, and I swear that he hears me say, "Oh, you know, it was okay last night," and he's like, "Well, you know what? Tonight it won't be okay." And so it's like, you know, you jinx it, and but everything's been fantastic. I've really been enjoying fatherhood so much. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. And easily the best thing I've ever done. The sense of pride that I get, and I've said this to friends and family, but like the sense of pride that I get when I release a good video on YouTube is fantastic. I like that. But like the sense of pride that I see when he smiles, he starts smiling, and like seeing the smile on his face for the first time, or when he does anything, like it's like releasing a video times 1,000. Like the sense of pride is just like it lasts for hours and hours, and you're just so proud of him, and you know it's amazing. So I really am loving being a dad, and yeah. And one day he'll probably look back at these videos and think, "Oh, Dad, you're embarrassing me," you know, that kind of stuff. But or maybe he'll be on here with me. I don't know at some point in the future. But he'll definitely be a Disney kid. He's been to the parks already. He's been to Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot. Yet to go to Animal Kingdom. But whenever we go, because he's so young, he's only like 10 weeks this week, we only go, we live local to Walt Disney World. So whenever we go, we only go for like 2 hours, like 2 or 3 hours at most. And like half, you know, and a good hour of that time was spent at the baby care center or whatever, you know, changing diapers, or I would call nappies, and also, you know, feeding him and stuff like that. So but I can't wait to see Disney through his eyes, because, you know, from me being a Disney fan from when I was little, growing up, I saw the magic of Disney. Then I discovered the Imagineering side of things, and I started to see how it was all done behind the scenes, and I saw Disney through a new light then, a new set of eyes then. And then when I became a YouTube creator, a content creator like this, you see Disney through a new set of eyes, because then you start looking at more analytically for the YouTube channel. And now, as a dad, I get to experience and go right back to the beginning of the cycle and start to see it through the magic of Disney through his eyes all over again. So it's just a lovely full circle going back to it. But yeah, so that's just an update on Max. Yeah, we're having a great time, and yeah, his mum's doing okay as well. My wife's doing okay as well. So everything's fantastic from that standpoint. But yeah, thank you for asking. And with all that being said, let's watch the live stream on Saturday. It happens at 9:15 a.m. So it's an early start for a Saturday morning. 10:30 it ends. It's now in 15 minutes. The D23 Expo last year was now in 45 minutes. So this is half an hour shorter than that. So, you know, probably less announcements, more updates, but we'll maybe get a big announcement or something like that. It'll be an early birthday present to me in 2 weeks' time if we get some big news. I will be here on the channel covering it for you all on Saturday. I won't be doing like a watch along for the live stream. I'll be watching it by myself, obviously, much like all you guys will be as well. And then I'll be giving my thoughts and my commentary on everything afterwards, giving a roundup, adding some additional insight, and you know, doing a general news roundup on everything that gets announced, to give extra context and whether I believe that some of the stuff is, you know, happening, or what's happening with it, insight, along with the rumblings I've been hearing along the way, and try and give you a little bit more insight into the announcements themselves as a wrap-up. So yeah, with all that being said, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.